my name is Sarah Hashkes. I was researching psychedelics in academia. I published a paper about this. I left academia because honestly, it was a bit, I just from a personal perspective, things were moving very slow. It's sort of amazing to see what has happened in the last 5 years since I've left. But I thought I could contribute a lot more from outside of academia with whatever I learned. So I currently am CEO of Radix Motion. We are creating embodied technologies that is empowering the psychedelic ecosystem. And I'm a scientific advisor for Redlight Holland that is selling microdosing kits in the Netherlands currently. So I do want to give you a 2-minute, very, very brief introduction to my research so that you can have a little bit more of a deeper understanding why psychedelics are such an important tool. I'm specifically focused on the classical psychedelics, the psychedelics like psilocybin and LSD that activate our 5-HT2A receptor. So I'd like you to imagine that our brain is building sand castles. The sand is the incoming senses that is coming from all of our different senses, if it's our eyesight or our hearing, our smell, our sense of touch, the internal proprioceptive sensations that we have. And the buckets are actually our previous knowledge. It's called in neuroscience priors or biases sometimes. This whole framework is actually called the predictive coding framework, which I highly recommend you look into. So your brain is constantly taking these buckets that it has already built. Most of them have been built in childhood when your brain was very plastic and then sort of set in place. And it's constantly taking these buckets and trying to fit the sand, the incoming sensation that you have, into these buckets. Now, psychedelics take your brain's buckets and actually break them down into smaller and differently shaped buckets. Now, how do we actually know this? And I won't go into depth into this, but when we look at the actual neurocircuitry, we can actually see where these receptors are in our brain, and they are sitting on the feedback loop that's coming from these higher brain areas that are creating the buckets. So we're breaking down these buckets, which actually can really change the perception and our expectations about the world. Brief example, if you're going in, walking in a forest on a normal condition, you might expect to see animals on some probability and plants on another probability. But if you take in a few magic mushrooms, suddenly you might start having many more different expectations. You know, maybe it's a dog, maybe it's a cat, maybe it's an elf that you're seeing in the tree. So all these possibilities that were a lot less likely suddenly become possible for your perception. Now, this is the really core power of psychedelics and why it can help with so many mental health issues, because so many mental health issues are based on our priors and our beliefs, our trauma that has caused these buckets that, by the way, might have been very useful for us as a strategy to actually, save ourselves and survive under certain conditions. But as we grew out of these conditions and are hopefully in a better place right now, a lot of the times these buckets do not update. And psychedelics are really one of the most powerful to then help you break down these previous biases and beliefs and help you update your model. Okay, deep breath. So happy to answer any more questions about this later and send a bunch of references. But with this understanding of why psychedelics are so powerful, I want to start looking at the future. As all of you know, psychedelics are really starting to be a lot more popular in the mainstream media and in academic research. It's all really amazing. And we are also seeing this influx of money that we cannot ignore into the industry. There's a prediction that psychedelics is going to be a $7 billion market only in North America. So when we're talking about the world and Europe, it's going to be even larger. Now, what type of possibility space is this going to create? And I want to focus on two variables. I'm going to showcase, the future I want, and we can have a discussion at the end, and happy to answer any questions about that. So we see basically on these two variables, psychedelics can either become a pharmaceutically controlled substance, right? or they can become an accessible tool for growth. So you can think about the difference between SSRIs to, for instance, coffee, or how, at least in California, weed is currently treated, right? Where really any adult consenting can just go in and purchase these substances. Now, there's another variable that I want to talk about, and that is the variable between, are psychedelics going to be based on scientific ideas, beliefs, and methods versus mystical and religion. So I put a bit of icons to showcase, the possibility that I'm really aiming for, which is psychedelics as a tool for growth that is based on science, and how I feel about the other possibility spaces. And I will briefly address why and try to guide you through my thought process. So, when we talk about a tool for growth, we are going to see a much higher accessibility. If psychedelics become a pharmaceutically controlled substance, you're going to need a prescription. Not everybody has medical insurance. Not everybody has the ability to pay large amounts of money to get into a doctor's office and get treated. So in order to have a higher accessibility rate, I really think psychedelics should be a tool for growth versus a controlled substance. Next, if it is a controlled pharmaceutical substance, we're likely to see a lot more stigma around it. Versus if it's a tool for growth, we can have much more open discussions, destigmatize things like mental health in general, and the use of psychedelics. Now, when we come to the actual money side of it, right? If psychedelics become a controlled pharmaceutical substance, we're going to see a few really large companies making a lot of money on this, controlling this ecosystem. If psychedelics become a tool for growth, we're going to get a much more diverse economy, and many more people that have actually been in this field for many years will have the opportunity to now, make their life, profitable or accessible, with doing what they have been possibly doing for years underground. And now when it becomes legalized or decriminalized as an accessible tool, they can actually offer the in a much more open way. Okay, now we're going to get to a part that might trigger a lot of emotional reactions for people, and I'm happy to talk about it. But personally, and based on the things I'm going to show you, I think it is imperative that psychedelics stay on the scientific side. Science is based on measurement. We always ask ourselves, what are we measuring? What is our hypothesis? What are we seeing, right? Or what are we measuring with other tools? It's not just a story that's based on untestable beliefs versus an actual hypothesis. And because psychedelics are so powerful, it's really important to stay in the science track. Another difference is the statistical thinking versus personal perspective. If we want this to be a tool for growth, it's really important that we look at the statistics. How can it help people? What can it help them for? What are the side effects? Just reading through an anecdotal, Reddit forum or a friend that said, it helped me, isn't going to be very useful always, because people are different and there's statistical variance between things. The other difference is in science, we talk about clear axioms that can be explored, and we can talk about everything. There's nothing that's banned about talking and discussing and bringing up different options. A lot of things around mystical and religion, you're talking about these ultimate truths that there's just no way to actually engage with on any deep level. Now we're getting to what actually, with science, we can actually build tools, technology that can really shape how we interact with everything in our world. While mystical and religious experiences really inspire art, which is awesome and amazing. And none of this is really saying we should move out any type of mystical or religious experience that help people. But I'm just saying why it is so important to stay within the scientific domain when we talk about psychedelics. Now, The last point I want to bring up is a problematic point that has actually been talked about a little bit in the last lecture, which was very important to understand that scientific research has not always helped everyone, right? It has come at the expense of others, and it still is in many researches. And that's a thing that the scientific community is constantly at least trying to improve with ethics boards and debates. And it's not always perfect, but at least we're making some progress on that. The mystical religion parts of humanity haven't really increased much of our compassion and empathy. They've brought a lot of prejudice, and personally, because of psychedelics increasing neuroplasticity and really letting people break down their biases, it's really important that if people go through these processes with a type of healer or coach, that coach has immense power over their brain. You're turning your brain into a childlike brain again and almost rebirthing it. So ideas that might come from religious extremists can actually be very scary and implant themselves in people's brains. So that's a thing we really need to consider. Okay, so bright future, how do we get there? How do we actually make psychedelics both accessible and responsible and reduce harm? My solution, and there are others, but the solution that I am working towards is to use technology to empower and educate. As part of that, we've created a virtual reality experience that actually explains what psychedelics do to the brain in a very interactive way, in a very fun, educational way, that also explores some of the health, both the benefits, but also the risks. So people can actually be really informed and decide if this is for them. Another tool we're building is a MicroDosing Journal app that we're actually going to be using this embodied technology that I'm building to detect, can we actually see differences in our body when we are microdosing or not. This tool is also going to give people the best analytics that we can about themselves to help them understand, is psychedelics, is microdosing helping them or not? What is it helping them with? How is it helping them? And people that are using this can actually opt in to share their data. This is a privacy first app, totally anonymous, and only if people want to share their data with researchers, they can. And we believe that we can actually get massive amounts of data. My big frustration with academia was, lack of budgets, which also was talked about in the OCD research. So hard to get budgets to actually conduct research, to get large scale research, massive amounts of data. If you want to do any type of AI or machine learning algorithms, testing on 20 people is just not enough. So we need to get much larger data sets to be able to use the best tools that we have as scientists. So another example I want to give you that has been talked in actually the previous session is peer consultation and peer support lines. This is one that I'm trying to be a little bit involved with, but there's many others. I think also Zendo is actually connected to this Fireside group. They're trying to create a peer support line that will use phone, text, chat to help people if they're having a difficult trip, to help people integrate their trip. So really using technology to connect people and help them get more access to people that have a large database, data and knowledge about psychedelics. So, and I think their current volunteers are sort of closed, but definitely look into it, and they have more upcoming sessions to train volunteers. Okay, so hopefully after all this, some of you at least agree with me about why psychedelics should be an accessible tool for growth that is based on science. And I want to sort of end with a quote by a person who's just such an inspiration for me, Susan Blackmore, a researcher that talks very openly about her use of psychedelics and substances. And she says, in the end, you have to climb the mountain yourself the hard way. Even so, by giving you that first glimpse, the drug may provide the inspiration to keep climbing. So psychedelics, because they're such a powerful tool, can sort of jumpstart you and can show you the possibility of what you can become. They can show you the way and the path toward healing, but it's never alone. And we really need to build these support structures using technology, using friendship, using a different type of economy to actually create a world that will take us to where we want to be. So if you actually want to learn more about what I'm building and want to actually be part of my company, we are crowdfunding right now. And you can go to this website and help support us financially. And that would be great. And thanks.